Let me get the correct agenda. That would help us. So can everybody hear me? Good.
Yeah.
I had to move downstairs because it's a little hot up in my office. So I'm sitting in front of the fan with all the blinds drawn shut to try to stay cool. So hopefully we'll get through this without me wilting away. Typically we do this in a lab and it's interactive. So I don't know if you can do that, they'd be great. Otherwise you can just follow along. John is recording this. I see the recording. So it will be available afterwards so you can go through and watch it again. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen. Okay. So hopefully everybody sees the screen. To log into Blackboard from the Oswego webpage, there is a handy little link here, menu, and it's on all of the pages, and you can just click on it and it will take you to our Blackboard instance. I am already logged in. Let me not have two there. So you log in with the username password. I think I need to see people. So hopefully everybody is logged in. If you're not, you can say something in the chat. Carrie Mosaic, Carrie, how do you say your name?
Mosick.
Mosick, thank you.
No
In fact,
problem.
let's wind back a second. I'm Kathy Dutton. I should tell you that. And I work for Campus Technology Services, and I support Blackboard on the campus and do a lot of the background stuff. And I pretty much have been working with faculty that use Blackboard in the classroom to augment their face-to-face learning, whereas Carrie is an instructional designer and she works in extended learning, and her primary function has been working with faculty teaching online or in hybrids. But in this crazy new world, we're just kind of all mashed together doing what we can do to support faculty. So the first thing I want to show you, and if you've been to one of my trainings before, you know about the my course module. Each one of these little buckets are called modules, and across the top are tabs. So pretty much I know that I live, if I was teaching my home, my course, which tab is just going to show me my courses, this quickly tool, and then a couple downloads. Student resources, we have this here so you can see it. We'll say this right off the bat. We do not expect you to support students in their technology of using Blackboard. That's why we have contracted with the Open SUNY help desk, and this is their number, and they're working, they have their hours now, I think, from 7 a.m. to midnight. And I think that's like Monday through Friday, and then they have extended hours on Saturday, Sunday. And they're going, I think right now they're still remote, but they hope to be back in their office space in another couple weeks. And then there's the instructor resources. On this page, we want you now to, if you need help and you want to reach out to the campus, to send an email to the CTS help address instead of the BB help list, so it can get put into our ticketing system to help us better monitor it. When you just send the email to the BB help list, it can sit there. We might not know who's working on it. We might have everybody working on it, which isn't a good resource management. So for right now, we're asking people to use the CTS help desk, and that will go in, and then once the ticket's picked up, we'll know who's working on it. You can also contact the Open SUNY help desk, and after hours and weekends, it's really good to reach out to them. They have access to get into our Blackboard instance, and they can also get into your course to help you fix problems. So don't hesitate calling them. We pay for that service too. And then over here, I just did this yesterday, is I went through and pulled out some of the breakout workshops that could be useful if you're going to be using Blackboard in your courses this fall, especially since we don't really know how the fall semester is going to pan out yet. And then down here is information about Ally, our accessibility tool. We'll talk a little bit about that right now, even though we're, you know, spring, we kind of had to pivot pretty quickly to remote learning. And sometimes accessibility got pushed down. We can't really do that. You know, we need to keep accessibility up there as a priority. And we have the tools, and we also have workshops to help you with accessibility. Next Monday, there's the ABCs of accessibility. There will be a workshop on using Ally next week. So that will help you. You don't know when they're fully online classes, we have ways to know that there's a student ahead of time that has an accommodation. With face-to-face classes, we don't know that. So it's best to try to make everything accessible. It doesn't just help students that need accommodations, it helps everybody. So think about it as more of a level playing field and not something that you're doing for one person. It really helps everybody. So with that, I'm going to go back to the home page, and we'll go to my course nugget. So if yours looks like this with no order, the first thing we're going to want to do is be able to break this down so there's some order to it. So I'm going to click on this little cog. This is my settings menu. And then all I need to do is click to group by terms, and that's going to show everything by terms. From here, I can select which terms I want, and I can even, if I go over here and get this little crossbar, I can move my terms around. And then down here on the course list, you can actually edit and take out individual courses too. When you do this, all you're doing is suppressing this from showing on your page, your module. So if you see, I only have 2 terms checked right. Well, I have a couple more than that. So I'll get rid of those. So I'm going to go down and click submit. And now when I've come back, I'm only displaying 3 terms. And this allows me to not have that big long list. It's grouping things together. Those courses are still there. If I need them, I can just go back, bring that term back or that course back and submit, and then I will have access to my course again. Courses stay on our server for 18 months since the last date of activity. So if you, as soon as you click on that course, the timer starts ticking all over again. So if it's been 17 months and 29 days and you go into the course, it resets and you'll have another 18 months. So don't worry about it. Even when courses are removed from the server, they are backed up and archived, and the drive is sent to us on campus, so we will have access to get that course file for you again if you needed it. So at this point, I'm going to just pause for a second and ask if there are any questions. You can write in the chat window, and Carrie can let me know if there's questions. So I'm going to take it right now. There are no questions. And we'll move on. So we're going to talk about actually building some course structures. So the first thing I want you to do is to go into one of your courses. I would choose a course that you have not used before, that has no content, and is not going to be live in a couple days. So in your course, can I just have a show of hands of who has been using their course in Blackboard in prior semesters?
I'm a new hire, so I haven't even been assigned courses yet, unfortunately, and I was using
Okay.
Canvas before.
Okay. You don't really, I mean, it's going to be different, but you
Mhm.
won't have to relearn everything. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
a lot of the clicks might be different, but
Right.
the actual functionality will be
Okay.
much the same.
Okay.
Um, I've used Canvas only once in a
Okay.
course, and it was not difficult to
Okay.
make that transition.
Okay.
And if you, I don't know who who is this? Is who's the new
Oh,
hire?
I'm Catalina.
Okay. Oh, yep, I see you. So if you can just send, can you just put your name in the chat message,
Hmm.
and then we can always give you a temporary access to Blackboard.
I
And
have I have access to Blackboard. I
okay,
just haven't been assigned my courses officially in the registrar, I guess.
okay, gotcha.
So that's why they're not showing up on
Yep,
Blackboard for me.
we can give you a development shell,
Okay.
a sandbox that you can start developing some of your material,
Oh,
and
great.
then you can move it once your
Oh, you
courses are
can?
there. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that
Yep.
would be great.
Okay, so just put that in the chat message so we can
Sure.
remember to do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so inside your course, over on the left-hand side here, this is the course menu. And students will only see items that have content and that are accessible to them, that aren't hidden. So this content has this square box, and it's showing right now that there's no content. This library resources link with a slash through says that the link's hidden. This discussion, same thing with that. Email, course messages, my grades is there, and help. Now, what we can do is, if we wanted to see what the course looked like as a student, we have this, I call it a little eyeball. If we click on this, it's going to put us into this student preview, and it's going to tell you that you're on the student preview. And from here, you can see that the menu is much shorter, and it's only showing what they have access to. So they would have access to this link, course messages, my grades, and help documentation. This is a good way to make sure that once you have content, that your students can see it. What Blackboard does is when you click on the preview, it makes you a new account as a student. And then when you're all done, you can just click exit. Now, typically the default is that you're going to exit. It's going to delete the preview user and all the data. Sometimes you might want to keep the data so you can practice grading, or you think that there's a problem with your grade center, and if you go in and you fill in points to make it easier to compute and see if it's you're getting the same results. So sometimes you want to keep this, but typically you just say continue, and we are back into Blackboard in our instructor mode. Now, over on the course management, as you can see, only you have access to this. So what we're going to do first is we're going to work on this content area, and that's what we're focusing on in this workshop. So I'm going to click on content, and I have a big blank screen. And in the center, this is where the students are going to be looking for their content. Now, there's a couple ways to build out a course. You can just throw everything in here, or you can start to build structure to begin with. I think it's easier if you start with some kind of structure. So before you even get into Blackboard to start working on putting your content in, know what you're going to have, what you want. Know that you're going to break down your work by topic or by week, and you're going to have a folder for each one of those weeks. And in those folders, then you'll put the work that happens. Maybe you'll just have some files for them to read, some PDFs. Maybe you'll have a discussion. Maybe you'll have an assignment that you want them to submit through Blackboard. So if you can have some structure to begin with, it makes it a lot easier. Unfortunately, I will help faculty with their course when a student can't find something, and they've just put everything in here, and they just, you scroll, 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 scroll. And if I can't find it, I'm pretty sure that your students aren't going to be able to find it easily. So you really don't want them to be overwhelmed and stressed trying to find their work. So I'm going to start out with building some structure to begin with. So I'm going to go to build content, and I want to make a content folder. And I'm just going to say week 1. Now that's all I need to do is give it a name. I don't have to do anything else. If I was to put some text here, it would just put a little bit of information underneath the link. The name becomes the link. So it would put something under there. So if I wanted to tell students a little overview of what was going to be in this folder, I could do that down here. I also have the ability, as I'm working on this, if I did not want students to see it, maybe, I'm building some new content, and a new folder, and I don't want students to see it yet, all I would have to do is click this no, and then students would not be permitted to view it. If I leave it yes, and the course right now, everybody's course is turned off to students, is unavailable, they wouldn't be able to get in here anyways. You could also use date restrictions too to hide folders. That is a design decision why you would want to do it. Sometimes people don't want students to see content until a certain date. So that would make sense. And you could set up all your course ahead of time, and you could say that I don't want students to have access to the week 2 content until week 2. The thing though, when you hide it, I'll just go back and quickly hide this, is that students aren't going to have any idea that there's something coming up. So this says is kind of grayed out and it's hidden from students. So if they came in here, it would be blank. They wouldn't know. So that's one drawback for hiding content. It doesn't really let them know when you're hiding folders, but you could maybe put a document ahead of time that lets them know that there's going to be 12 folders, 1 per week, or 6, and the dates that they're going to have access to them, so they know. It's best to know ahead of time, then students can prepare and plan for their work, and there will be a whole lot less stress. So when I made my folder, I want to put my work in the folder, so I'm going to click on the week 1, and that has opened up this new area where I can build content. So the first thing I want to build is a file. I'm going to just simply upload a file. So if I go to build content and then select under the create menu, file, it's going to bring me to a page that kind of looks like you're attaching a file. It's not anything that you haven't seen before. You give it a name, and then you click browse my computer, and I find my file, and that's all I need to do. Again, I could use I don't want it to open up in a new window. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Kind of want students to stay in the window that they're in or the tab, but I could do the date restrictions too. I'm going to click submit. So now it's here. If you click on it, because this was a PDF, it's just going to load right in the window. Also, what Blackboard does is if it doesn't open up down here, it gives the link. Now, I will say that there is a bug that happens in Chrome sometimes with PDFs, and that they won't open if they're multiple pages. And students will just see maybe a little bit, or they'll see nothing. And you know that it's like 7 pages long. If they use Firefox, it opens fine. We're still trying to, we're working with Blackboard to try to get to the bottom of this problem. So at this point, if you have questions, just put it in the chat so Carrie can let me know. But uploading a file is not difficult. I am going to go back, and so to go back, I have up here the breadcrumbs, or I could click on my menu, say content. If I do that, it's going to take me all the way back to here, and then I would click on week 1. If I had picked the breadcrumb and picked week 1, I would have stayed in here. Now I'm going to upload another file, but this time it's going to be a Word doc. So they kind of look the same, except for the little gauge there. Oh, and while we're on mention the gauge, only you see this. Students do not see the gauge, so don't worry about it. But anyway, so this is a Word doc, and when it gets clicked on, it can't open, so it has to download. And again, it should download automatically. If it doesn't, you can, there's this link that you can click and it will download it. As you can see, the gauge here is just kind of accessible. We want to go all the way to the green, so it could use some improvement. We'll go back. This time I'm going to click on week 1. So uploading files is really simple, and it is the easiest way to get content in, but not always the best way. With PDFs, as we can see, this PDF actually is accessible. Sometimes they're not. If you've just scanned from a book and you have an old scan, it's probably not going to be accessible, and students aren't going to be able to read it very easily if they have a screen reader. So PDFs, they're easy, but they're not always the best option. A Word doc, we can upload that, but students can't see it on their computer. They have to download it to open it. So what we could do, another way to go about this, is we could make a web page. So I'm going to go underneath this. I have a visitor, my cat. Underneath build content and take I'm sorry, blank page. Okay, give it a name. Now I could type in here, I can upload an image, but I can also copy and paste, and we'll see how well this works. So I'm going to copy from Word. So copying from Word, sometimes you get the word formatting in there and it can mess things up. This time it doesn't look like it's too bad. So I have just copied my Word document in here, and I am going to save. I'm going to submit. Uh-oh, it didn't work. So we'll go back to edit. And it looks like everything went up here. Okay. So I'm going to click on Dragon up. Sorry. In this mode, I can't do that. I am just going to turn edit mode off. And then I can click on it and it will open up. And this was what your students will see. So they'll still be in Blackboard. They have the document and they didn't have to download it, and it's not a PDF. So I'm just going to go back. So I want to add a photo to this. If I want to do that, I'm going to go around by the title, and then I get this little chevron drop down arrow. It's going to give me my options. So I'm going to click on it and I'll say edit. And then that will bring me back in. Now I want to put an image in. I'm going to put it in right in here. This little icon here gives me the images. But sometimes you will not see this. You will only have one toolbar. And if that's the case, these double chevrons over here will expand and you'll see all your options. Once you've done this, it sticks and you'll have the 3 toolbars in any course you go to in any page. So I'm going to click on the image. I'm going to browse my computer, find my image. So it's going to load it in here, and I've not done anything with it, so it's going to be huge. Now I should give it an image description that will it's for a screen reader. It's also called the alt image. So I'm going to click insert. So it's going to go back, and now I will hit submit. So if we go back and look at it now, it's big. So what you'd want to do is you'd really want to scale this down before you brought it into Blackboard, so it just doesn't take up that much space. You can go in and you can make it smaller when you're editing, but you're just shrinking down the size. That you're not changing the size of the file, you're just changing the size of the display. And it's best to be as conservative as possible with file sizes. The next item I'm going to show you is called an item. So we'll go back to build content, an item. Now the difference between an item and a page is everything that I type in the text box is going to show up on that main page. They're not going to have to click on anything to see it. So here I could say what they'll be reading. Um, And then we'll do an assignment too. Okay. I'm going to click submit. And you can see that everything that I just typed shows right up here. Instead of with the web page, it had to load. It went to a new page. The next thing I'm going to show is doing a web link. So I'll go back to build content, go down to web link. I give it a name. I don't know what this is. I have the URL. I'm just going to go grab it. Copy it in and submit. Oh, let me go back to edit. The one thing that you should look to do is, in this case, you want to make sure that the link will open up in a new window. Sometimes things won't open up right. This is an HTTP and not an HTTPS. Blackboard is a secure website, and browsers often put up a flag when you're going from a secure website to just a regular website that isn't secure, you didn't have to log into, and it can cause an error message to pop up that you just have to answer. And a lot of times the browsers don't make that very easily define what you needed to answer. So now when I click on this, it takes me to the website, and then I can go right back to my course. Another thing, if you wanted to do videos are really great. We don't want you to upload videos directly into Blackboard. We want you to either use your YouTube channel that you have through your Laker apps. You can get an ensemble library. We can set you up with that. That's a place to store your videos. The differences is YouTube, it's public, whereas ensemble, it's not. Only the people who have access to your course would ever be able to get it. So you don't have to worry about people seeing your videos that you don't want to. You can also, under these mashups, there's some other options too. But first we're going to do the YouTube. And I'm going to search. I was going to come up with something other than Dear Kitten, but I didn't have time to do that. So I found my video. I'm going to select it. It's going to come back. I typically, you have a choice between a thumbnail, a text link with the player, or embed the video. I'm going to pick embed the video. If you do the thumbnail, they'll click on the link to get it. Once you've picked this mashup option, you can't go back and edit it. You just have to delete it and start again. I usually say yes to both of these options, and then we will say submit. And there is our video. When I click on the link, it will actually go out to YouTube and play it, but it's going to stay right inside the Blackboard window, and there will be no ads, no, hey, you watch this, maybe you want to watch this video, so it keeps students focused. The other way that we could do this is we could use Ensemble. So I'm going to click on Ensemble. And again, I can pick my video. And then I'm going to click save. And here's the video. I'm just going to go back to edit on this. Don't know if we can do it. No. So I'm going to cancel. I'm actually going to show you something that I think the default is pretty big. So I'm just going to go back to mashups and do ensemble video again. I will pick the same video, but I can change the embed options. So I can change the size here, and I'm going to go down to 560 by 315. Save it, save again. And it's a lot smaller. They can still click on it to expand it to make it larger. So at this point, are there any questions concerning videos, mashups, items?
What is Ensemble? I've never heard of that.
Okay, it's just it's a digital repository that the campus has licensed. So it's actually hosted from the same SUNY little sub-consortium that hosts Blackboard for us. So in Ensemble, your videos in both Ensemble and if you use YouTube will be auto-captioned for you. So that's important. And it just is a place to store your videos. Blackboard was not meant to be storing videos. Videos can take up a lot of the resources on the servers when they're being run. We have not run into a problem yet, but I've been told that if they start seeing that a video is really hogging the resources and slowing it down, not just for your course, but for everybody across the environment, they will kill the video. So you don't want to do that. I mean, it's not good for your students, it's not good for the college, and it's just not being a good citizen. So we really want you to put them in either YouTube or you actually have three options. You could do YouTube, you could do Panopto, which allows you, is another video service that we have, but you can also use it to create videos. With Ensemble you can't. We don't have that subscription from them. And then Ensemble. You can put an Ensemble, you could put any kind of digital file. So you could put MP3s too, so audio files, music. Does that help you?
More or less. I can't access it though. I just tried to log in and it said I don't have an account to access it. So
correct. You would have to just send an email to the CTS help desk that you wanted a video an Ensemble library, and we'll set you up with one.
Is there a difference between Ensemble and Panopto?
So the differences are with Panopto, I mean, they both are going to store your videos. With Panopto, you can actually use that to create videos too. So if you were going to be creating videos and you did not have a video, you weren't going to use something that was on your computer, you didn't have access to a video creation tool application, then Panopto is the way to go. Panopto used to not have a way to easily embed videos into the content area, but they have changed that. So both of them function the same when it comes to displaying your video, and they both caption too. They both have auto caption.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so one of the questions was, when would you use an item and when would you use a file?
That's a really good question. Okay, so I would use an item when you have a little bit of information that you want to tell students. So like that overview. You can also use an item, which I didn't show you and I will right now. If you had lots of reading documents, you can instead of uploading, say you had multiple files you wanted to upload, you can only upload one file at a time. So what you can do with the item is you can attach. So I can browse my computer and I can attach multiple files. And if I decided I didn't want a file, I just say do not attach, click submit. And now I have, this is an item and the readings are right here. So if I had something I want, my readings, I was going to give 3 or 4 readings and it was not in the book, they were supplemental, or we're not using a textbook, we're using open source readings from other places, and I wanted to put them in my course, I could do it this way. Does that help?
So the file won't allow the multiple attachments?
No, a file will only do one. You can upload a zip file, and then it will still be a zip file, and when students open it, it will unpack, but it's ugly and it's not very user friendly. So if you have multiple files and you don't really want to upload one at a time, use an item.
Okay, the other question was, is there a master list of files that are stored on Blackboard? So if you've uploaded it to Blackboard, is it stored anywhere?
It's stored in your course content, is where it's stored. We're not really going to talk about that. We can, if you send, I can address that with you later. It will take up too much time, but each course has its own course content, and you have access to it there. And you could move files from one course to another using the course content too. But that's not something that we really train on. Anything else?
What if they wanted to move the week at a glance up to the top? How would they go about that?
We are going to do that.
Oh, perfect.
But before we do that, I want to show you one more creating, and that is doing an assignment. So we've been under this build content, and the build content menu is basically we're putting things out there, we're pushing information to students. They only interact by reading. They can't submit work. They can't do discussions or anything like that. So assessments is where we can actually get some feedback from the students. So I'm going to go to assignment. That is the Dropbox function in Blackboard. We will go into this in more detail in the next workshop. So I'm just going to show that you have to put in a title. You have to give it points. It can be 0 points, but it has to have points. And then I'm going to click submit. So this icon with the ruler and pencil, this will allow students to actually submit their work. When they click on it, it would show whatever information you could put, instructions, it shows them the points. You can have a due date, it would tell them that, and then they would be able to attach their files to submit it. So to move, okay, I want to move this week at a glance. There's 2 ways I can do it. One is I can come over towards the left when I get the crossbars, and then I can just click and drag. And there's the little dot, the little dashes that are showing where I'm going to drop it, and there it goes. I can also go over to here where there's this up down, and if I click here, I will have another way to organize. So I have my week at a glance. Say this was some instructions. I can move this up to here. I can move multiple things around. And then when I click submit, it will reorder everything. The one thing that there's a bug right now is assignments. You can't reorder assignments easily. If they become out of order, you can shoot us an email and we can do it for you. It's not a difficult thing. You just have to move it to a different folder, and then you can move it back and reorder it. But that's something that can confuse people. Now, if you wanted to move, I've been building everything in this week 1 folder. Say I really wanted this assignment to be on that main page. We'll just go back to content. So right now I just have week 1. If I wanted to bring that assignment to the content level, not in the folder, I can't click and drag it. I can only click and drag when I'm within this page. So to move it to a different folder or anywhere, I need to click on the drop down and then say move. And then it's going to ask me where I want to move it to. And I'm going to click on content. That's the only place I could move it to. I'll click submit. And now it's not here anymore. But if I was to go back to content, it's there. So are there questions?
There is a
Kathy,
question.
I have one.
Yep.
This is Rick back. I had a problem this semester with these Dropbox, the assignments, and being able to order them. And they were coming out, I guess, as I did them, I wasn't doing them in sequential order, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yep.
So when they got in the list, they were out of order. So students could conceivably be dropping things in the wrong box.
Yep.
If they weren't really paying attention. So I'm just wondering if this is the best idea, is to have them all somewhere else in order.
So I'm just going to show you this. So what Blackboard does is every time you create something new, it goes to the bottom. It always does that. And if I try to click and drag, oh, it just made a liar, didn't it? Because I moved it. Once you move it to a different folder, well, let's see. Let's go to week 1. Nah, it just went back. So it looks like it's there.
That's the problem I had.
Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move SA1 into the week 1 folder. Submit. Then I'm just going to go to week 1. And then I'm just going to move it back to content. And now I can move it. I'll go to week 1, go back to content, and it stays. So it's not a hard thing. You just have to move one. And as soon as you move one on this page to a different folder and bring it back, then you can reorder all of them. It's wacky. The other thing real quick before we end, like I said, by default, all courses are turned off to students. There's now a way to tell right here. This is a padlock, so my course has been available. So your courses, when you go in, you should see it red and the padlock is closed. And all I have to do is click on this and it will make it available. There's also the quickly module, but I don't have this. We control what courses show up in it, and I don't have anything that's right now that has a term code from the spring or the summer, so it's not showing. But if I had multiple courses, I could just go here and it's just a slider. So we have reached the end of our time. Are there any other questions?
I had a question about files when you're uploading them directly into Blackboard.
Mhm.
Are they then stored in Blackboard?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
They're in Blackboard, and they're actually in Blackboard in your course.
Okay, and students, when they are on Blackboard, can they access those in some way? Because this is just from Canvas. There was
Yep.
a files bar that I grayed out because otherwise students would access them out
Right.
of order.
So in Blackboard, most of the things over here, like these are tools, and we've created the links. If there's not the tool here and we don't create the file tool, they don't have access to your course files. So you don't have to gray that out. I mean,
Okay.
if you wanted to, you could give it to them. Under tools, there's lots of different tools, and like announcements, you could create an announcement link that would take them to the announcements.
Okay.
And somewhere there is a file, but we just don't typically do that.
Okay.
And we actually might have taken it right off from at a higher level, so it's not a choice.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So if there's no other questions, I thank you all for coming and hope
Thank you,
that
Kathy.
you're having a cool day, as cool as possible.
I did want to take just 1 second.
Yep.
For those that were not able to or haven't seen it yet, the Extended Learning Department does have a flexible teaching Blackboard template that's available. If you go to the online learning portal that's on the SUNY Oswego's website, you can find it in there. There you go, that right there. So you may wish to get started as a starting point with using that template. Just wanted to make you aware of it.
Good to
Alrighty.
know. Thank you, Carrie.
No problem.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.